The super, gosh, I'm tongue-tied with that. The super, this is more than just a tarot deck. It's a piece of feminist history. Today I'm flipping through the Nosotras Tarot, a Brazilian indie deck created as an act of artistic resistance. We'll take a closer look at its stunning collage artwork, its feminist roots, and explore how it pairs well with other decks. If you love discovering unique tarot decks and creative pairings, I'd love to have you here. Subscribe for more tarot and spirituality content, and let me know in the comments, what do you think of this deck, and what would you pair with it? With that being said, let's hop right in. A quick disclaimer, this is an indie out-of-print deck that is really hard to find. I found my copy secondhand. While this specific deck is out of print, the creators do have other decks currently available on their website. The artwork for those decks are done in the same creative process as the Nosotras Tarot. This is a specific viewer request video, and I'm honoring that request by filming it. It also features nudity, so just to wrap that up. Before I flip through the cards, I wanted to mention and talk about the history of this deck because it is a foundation and pillar of why it's in existence. So the Nosotras Tarot, and Nosotras means we in the feminine in Portuguese, is a Brazilian created deck that's done through digital and analog collage. The collage is of antique photos featuring women of all shapes, sizes, and backgrounds. The work for this deck started in 2014 and was finally completed in 2019. Each card in the deck has a Portuguese title, but all the titles are in the feminine form of the word. These are very specific and intentional choices. The guidebook states that the deck is a political, poetic, and mystical work in a moment of a setback in various spheres of the national scenario. Each person in this feminine and feminist journey is one more cell of this overpowering wave of resistance that we are creating. It holds the inner journey towards the womb of the world and liberation of the women that exist in each being. This is the first Brazilian tarot deck made by women for women. Of more importance, it was a creative political objection to Bolsonaro, the former Brazilian president, who targeted feminist politics, roadblocking advances in gender rights and policies. Paired with the beautiful collage work and what the deck stands for, there's a powerful energy with the deck that meshed really well for me from the start. This deck has really become an important deck in my own personal journey, and I'm really happy to share it with you all today. So getting started, these are the wonderful backs. I love the choices. I love how it brings in that almost like Aztec feel to it. It's kind of a very understated back as far as the color choice compared to the faces of the cards. But I don't know, I just think it's a very interesting choice for backs, but I really love it. It does come in a tuck box. All of the language on the box, on the cards, are Portuguese. The guidebook, multilingual, but it does place Portuguese first and some other languages before English. I think English is actually the last language, and I kind of like that. I kind of like that the creators, who are Brazilian, put the Spanish-speaking and Portuguese-speaking peoples first and made English last. But English is in here. It is kind of more of a traditional white book where there's only a paragraph for the meanings, but I believe in the minors it's even less. Yeah, so a couple sentences for the minor. The court cards are renamed. So we have Princess, Knight, which is, it appears as like a cavalier. We have the Queen, and then Royalty. So just to note, there is not a traditional king in this deck, and that's very much on purpose. The cardstock is very much on the papery side, I would say. It has good flex, but this is the kind of cardstock that is really going to soften a lot over time. I wish I could explain it better, but as you work with it and bend it more, it kind of just becomes soft, almost like a paper bag does. If you reuse paper bags, the more you use them, the softer they become. This is a similar cardstock. I do believe that this is a little bit of a different size, so it is the same height as a tarot, regular standard tarot card, but it is a little bit thinner. Not by much, but just for some comparison there. It is quite nice to shuffle. It is not gilded, it's just plain. At first, this deck was sold by the suit and by the major arcana, but in 2019 you were finally able to purchase like the whole deck, and for a while they did have just the majors available, but this is no longer in print. In my search to find this, I can't remember which channel, but I came across this deck on YouTube, and my eyes were just like, I have to have this, and I went searching really hard for this deck, and it is really hard to find. I actually came across an old post from like 2019, I believe, and someone was selling a bunch of decks, and this deck was on that list. And I reached out. It didn't say it was sold next to the title where other decks did. And I asked them if they still had this deck, and luckily enough, for some reason, this person still had the deck, and I purchased it from them that way. But otherwise, I'm on a lot of secondhand marketplaces in different areas on the internet, and I've never ever seen this deck pop up. So I do apologize for its hard to find nature. But again, this was a viewer requested video, and I do want to honor that. The request came in quite a while ago, so I do apologize for the delay, but let's get into what you guys are here for, which are the cards. So first is an extra card here, and this is, or these are, the creators. This is the collage artist, and I do believe this is the woman who wrote the guidebook. So I just think that's a fun way. Obviously she feels she's more like a queen of swords and a queen of cups. I don't know, I just think it's a fun bonus card to have. Then we have a title card here with the same backings. Here we have the Fool, the Magician, High Priestess, who is featured on the box, Empress, in the guidebook this is the female emperor, that's how they've titled it, Hierophant, the Lovers, Chariot. So as you can see, there are women from all backgrounds, shapes, sizes, and experiences in this deck. I think it's really well put together. I love this Hermit, by the way. I do. I think it's tastefully done. I feel the true purpose behind this deck, knowing the history and why it was created. They felt that their power as women, based on the leader of their country at the time, was going backwards and being threatened. And what a better way to react to that by creating art and making it all female, created by females. I think that says something very powerful. And by the way, this is like the happiest Tower card. It almost feels like a Mardi Gras celebration of sorts. I think that the collage work, which is a combination of analog and digital, is really seamlessly done. I think it's quite beautiful. I think the artist did a really great job. And then we do have a bonus card here, Anima Mundi, and it is the soul of the world, and it really represents the true creative energy of this deck. And it's such a stunning image. Then we're going into the swords here. I do know that there's a lot of conversation about decks that lean toward one gender over another in its depictions and its representations. And while I do understand the need there for balance, I also recognize that all of us have feminine and masculine energies within us. And just because there is a deck that appears to have one gender represented, I just don't buy that. I think that even though this deck has female energy and shows female-leaning figures or more feminine type figures, I still get the essence and power of masculinity, that outwardness, that extroversion type in the cards where it's called for and it comes forward. So I don't think that there's a lack of that masculine energy. And I wish that we could think about that a little bit more. I think no matter if a deck has more of one gender over another, it literally doesn't matter to me. In my eyes, we are all, you know? And I think as I get older, I realize more and more the constraints of gender and understanding more about it and how confining it really is. Because growing up, I was what you would call a tomboy. And as a segue here, the coins are my favorite suit in this deck. They tend to be my favorite in other decks, but I think this one really pulls it together quite well and beautifully. But back to what I was saying, love this. Like, I loved this energy. Stunning. And then, yeah, anyway, sorry. I was a tomboy growing up, and I don't know, I just identified more with that side of myself versus being girly. I remember finally hitting puberty, and I did not want to develop in the chest area. I just was not interested in that happening, among other things. And I recently realized that part of me was binding my chest in a way. I would wear strictly sports bras because real bras were scary. At the time, there was like that style that you could get them in a box, kind of similar to like stockings back in the day that came in boxes. And they were like that lacy, flimsy, like just lace material, which as a tomboy was like, no, thank you. Like, not my speed. Traditional bras with underwire, no thank you. So sports bras, I was like, yeah, I mean, it has the word sport in it, and it doesn't feel as intimidating. It's stretchy material. It feels more comfortable. But what I would do is I would wear like 2 or 3 sports bras at a time, because sports bras are meant to kind of compress your chest in more so that when you're doing exercise, your chest doesn't move around as much, and which can be very painful. And I realized I was binding myself in a way. And I think about that a lot now, in hindsight, and being a tomboy and just trying to figure out, because I still had an interest in guys at the time, and I was interested in, of course, teenage yourself, having a partner, but they weren't necessarily interested in me in that way. And I think it's because I came off as more tomboy. I mean, I didn't even shave until I was in high school, like my legs for the first time. I didn't even wear makeup till I think it was like junior or senior year. And I felt more peer pressure to do both of those things because society sucks and high school and middle school sucks. So going through that, I just wanted the looks and the judgments to end, so I just kind of fell into what I should do or should be doing. This is a very personal story time that I was not expecting to talk about, but I just think about gender and how much more fluid it is, because we are all aspects. We are a being. We are created by both. Therefore, we are both. We are everything and nothing at the same time in that way. And that's kind of what I've discovered as I've gotten older. And while this is a very specific deck in reply to politics trying to keep women in the past, I feel that it speaks to me on a deeper level. It shows me that no matter how I decide to present myself, I am still accepted. I am still called upon to be me, my true self. So working with this deck has really opened my mind in that way. And I feel very bonded and connected to this deck. I would definitely say it is in probably my top 3. I'm not even going to say top 5 because it's in a top 3 spot of all time. It came into my life last summer, so I haven't even had this a year. This is one of my favorite cards, and it is my representative card of this deck. It comes up so much for me that it just signifies the deck for me. Like, this is the deck's like ultimate signifier to me. You know how we choose significator cards. This is what the deck is telling me its significator card is, and it's absolutely beautiful. I know I haven't spoken a lot about the art, but I love the colors. It's got like sunset and sunrise vibes to it. I don't know, I just really adore this deck and all that it has taught me, and it hasn't even been in my life for a full year just yet. But I just feel like there's so much power and energy, and I find it to be very well balanced. I think others who are just taking into consideration that there are female presenting figures solely in this deck, I think people get so caught up in that sometimes, and I just want to like shake them and say, no, like they're both. They're both. Even this figure here, they're both. I don't know, I've just found that society is super restrictive, and I don't want to be restrictive. Not in my practice, not within myself, not for my future, my family. I always want to hold space for openness and open-mindedness. And based on how I'm talking and the tangent I've gone on, I think you can tell just how much this deck has brought forward that lesson and part of me forward. So, very special deck. Truly one of a kind in my collection. I do have other collage decks, but I don't think any of the other collage decks in my collection hit this kind of mark and this kind of work, and that's why I love collecting decks. I don't think I would have learned the same lesson with another deck as well as I have with this one. So let's see how it shuffles. Because of the way the cards were cut, they are pretty even, but it does, when riffling, have a clumpier riffle, which you can definitely hear. But the cardstock has softened a little bit since I've gotten it. It used to be a little bit more rigid, but it's softened. It's a nice shuffle. So I'll ask it here for cards so I can read an entry from the guidebook. All right, let's do the Ace of Wands. This is another card that comes up quite frequently for me when using this deck. Okay. Ace of Wands. All right. This card represents the creative and creative fire, present in all people through the impulse of life, spiritual enlightenment, instincts, desires, strength, liveliness, abundant energy, capacity. Let's see. Okay, a major, and then we'll see the first court card that pops up, just so you guys can get a true sense of all the types of cards here. All right, the Moon. The crayfish, still immersed in the waters of the unconscious, takes aim at the moon and sets out to begin its nightly journey, which traverses the shadows themselves, the inner walls, the towers and their structures, the forests, which represent magic and mountains, obstacles by the way. Guided only by the illumination of the moon, she calmly stares back at her, waiting to be discovered. This arcana is a playful dream and a walk through the unconscious. Boats sail in the waters of emotions. This card is linked to the unconscious and its secrets, is the need to look inside and navigate the darkness. Affirmation: I face my own shadows, looking into the eyes of my fears. I recognize my courage and go through the darkness to find the truth. It is a small but mighty paragraph there. And then let's see, our first court card here is the Royalty of Cups, which is traditionally the King of Cups, but has been renamed. Okay, Royalty of Cups. This card represents the power of the soul. In a circulation, it speaks of nobility, wisdom, compassion, emotional fullness, clear conscience, mature paths, worthy actions, dreams come true with emotional depth. One has to grow hard, but without ever losing tenderness. Beautiful. I like that a lot. So, of course, in my own practice, I do work with pairs. So I have pulled out quite a few decks here to explore and see how they would match up. The last three I'm really intrigued by, so stay tuned for those ones. And if you guys want a separate video on why I pair my decks, how I pair my decks, and you know, how I work with the pairs and what I use them for, please let me know. Let me know in the comments. The first selection I have here are Cowgirls and Aliens Oracle. This is a matching the energy of that feminine vibe, I would say. So I just wanted to see. This is not a pairing I've done before, but I know there's completely different art styles, and I wouldn't do two oracles with this per se. I just kind of want to give a nice look here. I think that it would call forward this pairing, it would call forward that archetype that this deck brings forward and the messages that it speaks to. For example, here we have the Navigator. I will take control of my own destiny with the Princess or the Page of Coins. And the Cowgirl, I am enthusiastic to learn and grow. I think that matches really well. We have Death with the Prospector and the Engineer. Joy in the process. Yeah, you kind of got to trust when you're going through transformation. Making time for myself to focus without distractions. I think that's important with the Death card. Seek the truth and seek out inspiration. So maybe in this sense, those are the two things that you're being called to balance, right? So I think there's a lot to go with there. The Preacher and the Horsewoman. The Seven of Wands. I will be open-minded and kind to others, letting down your guard a little bit. I will use my patience and compassion to overcome obstacles. Love that. Yeah, I think that this pairing would work really well. Next, I have the Glyph Oracle, Sacred Symbol Oracle. This is a Rose Bay Made Me Do It purchase, and I'm in full support of that, obviously. So let's see. This is a newer oracle to my collection. I'm currently going through an oracle exploration. I don't really have too many oracles in my collection, and I was feeling a little limited, I guess, by that. Ooh, listen. With security, right? We have to go inwards to listen. What are we feeling? What steps do we need to take to have that security? The Fool. Abundance. Power. Six of Wands. Connection. Hands. Primordial. Water. Seven of Cups with Serendipity, Shooting Star, Stability, and Column. Ooh, those are kind of like opposites in a way. Shooting Stars are very much on the move, like that Eight of Wands kind of energy. And then Stability, I'm getting, you know, the Four of Wands here, so that's very interesting. A lot to go off of there. Two of Swords, Perception, and Cleansing. I'll do one more here. Knight of Coins with Dynamic Yin Yang and Reflection and Mirror. Ooh, I like that a lot. I like the energies that are combining here. So this next deck choice, there are two decks actually in this that I've set aside here that I feel like would be siblings. And not necessarily because of their artwork, just the vibe that I'm getting. So I have the Little Sister Tarot here, and I do pair tarot and tarot together in my practice, so I think that's something that I could speak to in that video if you guys want it. Again, let me know in the comments. But I'm feeling emotional right now because I just feel like these two energies are siblings, and I can't articulate really too well why that is. The Little Sisters Tarot is such an emotive deck, but it's emotive in like the deep underbelly of emotions and helping you kindly through that process. Whereas Nosotras, it does lead with kindness, but it's always going to tell you the truth. But it does it in a really thoughtful, tactful way. I never feel bullied by this deck at all, but because of the purpose and creation behind it to kind of like stick it to the man, you know, it's like two sides of a coin almost. I really like respect and revere the Little Sister Tarot, and I think that again that these two are siblings. They give me both that deep feeling of connection, but again they have totally different angles and messages. And isn't that a very sisterly thing? Very opposites in ways, but you're still related, you still share blood, you're still connected. I mean, holy cow, look at this. We have the sun riding off this way and the Knight of Pentacles this way and the Three of Wands. I almost feel like she could be either of these people. I don't know, I just love this pairing a lot. And I love the Little Sister Tarot. The next selection I have here is the Mystic Path Oracle, which is the oracle deck of the year that I'm using each and every month to pull a card for the month ahead. And I thought these are both featuring digital collage in some way, so I thought maybe that would kind of go together well. I think that with the way that the Mystic Path is organized, I would probably only pair one with this. I wouldn't do two like I'm showing, but again, I'm just trying to get that artistic vibe and feel going on here. Surrender, Wheel of Fortune, and Ceremony. They're in a circle here going around this circle. The Hermit, interdependence and boundaries. Wow. Yeah, everything is interconnected, but we need to set those boundaries sometimes. We need to know how we fit within the overarching realm of things. Yeah, and on here it says act accordingly, which I think ties well with boundaries. Two of Wands, body, temple, and integrity. Aligned in thought and action. How perfect for the Two of Wands. Vehicle of heart, mind, and soul. Cultivate with care, right? We're trying to plan here at this stage, so do it with the utmost care. Princess of Swords, magic carpet, moon magic. Tapping into that mystery, the unseen, the cycles. All right, one more here. World of Wonder, Eight of Coins, and Above the Clouds. Very nice. I like that pair. Okay, this is the other deck that I was speaking about earlier that I think would be a sister deck, or that these are related. And this is the Superlunaris Tarot. Collage, but in a different way. Again, I don't know why it is. It just feels like this would be in the same family. If we're personifying our decks here, which on this channel, I think, by the way, that you can tell I'm talking about my decks, I definitely do. At first it was kind of unintentional, but I think each deck has its own energy it brings forward. I think people could argue that's not necessarily personality, but I guess that's just how my brain likes to speak about it. The Superlunaris is more modern, I would say. It's not using vintage figures as the Nosotras is, but I still feel like there's a sisterhood here. How beautiful. I like it so much. Okay, our second to last pairing, we have the Wild Whispers Oracle. I think this is a stunning pair. The messages that come from these two together is completely chef's kiss, in my opinion. They have, I don't know, they just raise the vibrational energy of one another. And I'm just here for it. I do have a full walkthrough and flip through and first impressions of the Wild Whispers Oracle on my channel. I'll link it in the cards above. I think this one is definitely more emotive overall, and then this one is very much grounding. So I think that they work really beautifully together. I know that they're completely different art styles, but I mean, look at this. The color story, expression, wholeness, that's completely the Ace of Wands, in my opinion. Great pair. Okay, and then I think, I don't want to say I saved the best for last because there have been some wonderful pairs here, but I think I have indeed saved the best for last. And I have the Love Oracle of Eden cards. I think that the purpose of both of these decks are very similar. It's to showcase people in their true form. It's not to alter their form, just enhance their form. They're both just very, very, very powerful. So let's just see here. I really love this pairing. I think this is one where I have done two before. I mean, there are no rules. I don't limit myself. I just kind of go with what I'm feeling in the moment. But the photo collage of Love Oracle of Eden with this collage, I don't know, it just brings something forward. And I love them so much. They speak the same language. That's just the best way I can describe how these two go together. They're speaking the same language, and they bounce off one another, and they have great conversation and powerful messages. Love Oracle of Eden is one of my favorite oracle decks that I have and that I own. I wish that this deck had like 100 cards in them because everyone in this is so beautiful. Like when I use this deck, I have trouble taking my eyes off of them. I really appreciate the human form in all of its shapes and sizes, and I think that this deck showcases them very well. This deck has a lot of different shape sizes, backgrounds, diversity as well. It's showcasing beauty in all their different and unique forms, and I so appreciate that. The Hierophant with heal and consistency. Wow, love that. The Lovers, sincerity and joy. Okay, one more. Love, tenderness, the Chariot. It's interesting because we think of the Chariot as super fierce, but typically there are, in this case it's humans, sometimes it's different animals, but there is usually a black and white one featured, and that speaks to duality. And here in the backgrounds again, they're different colors, and that's even more duality. Duality, directionality. Which way do you choose? What are your instincts telling you? But for this, it's like both of them need to come together in order for you to really move forward. Love this. I think I could go through this entire deck, but I hope you could tell my love and reverence for this deck. It's truly one of a kind in my collection. I really love it so much. It's very deep, and we are very connected. And while that came very naturally and kind of at first sight, I have learned so much from this deck already, and has made our bond even stronger. I feel like I move through the world a little bit differently because of this deck and what it has helped teach me and the messages that have come through. I remember sitting down, and I had a reading where this magician came forward, and it was a very mind-expanding, eye-opening reading. I don't know. It's a wonderful deck. I wish that it was more readily available. Again, I do apologize that it's out of print and relatively hard to find. But again, I want to always honor and respect the requests that I have coming in. I don't want anyone to feel ignored just because I have an indie out of print deck. I think that there are other decks that feature all female presenting people in them that I think would really hit the mark if that's truly what you're looking for. But again, I feel like I've matured in a way where I see more than just two things, two genders. I just see humans. I just see humans, and I see people, and I see beauty in all of them. And this really portrays that really well. But I could gush on and on forever. I do thank you so much for being here, for listening to me ramble, listening to me get really personal. But I'm here to be open and honest with you all and share my experiences as they truly are, without them being sugar-coated or altered or edited. I think that's all I have to say. I hope you all are doing well. Thank you for sticking this one out. And until next time, see you around.